Okay, so let us start with the Archaebacteria. So when I say archae, what do you understand by the word archae? If I say archaic, no, archaeology, right? So it comes from the same word, archaic or archaeology. When we say things are archaic, means they are old-fashioned, no, old-fashioned. Then if you talk about archaeology, it means you're digging up, about the things in the past, right? You are exploring about the past, no? You are digging up, you are conducting experiments to see, how the people lived in the past, right? So that was your archaeology, no? How human nature evolved. So then what do you think is this Archaebacteria? I think some of you have guessed. It means old and ancient bacteria, okay? So these Archaebacteria, they are the oldest known bacteria to man, oldest known, okay? They still exist now. And they can exist in very, 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 very harsh environment. So try to think about the earth, a few million years ago, no? Maybe, see, the earth is how many million years ago? I think 7 million years old, no? So think about, let's say 3 million years. How was the earth, do you think? It was it like this? No. I'm talking about before the dinosaurs. Before the dinosaurs, it was full of volcanoes. So this morning, I think you felt the earthquake. No, it was very traumatizing for all. So that earthquake is because of the shifting of the plates, no? Probably the lava, under the earth's tectonic plates, they were shifting, right? So think about this ancient earth, the primitive earth where most of the earth was covered with volcanoes and the layer of the earth was very thin. Okay, so a lot of magma was coming out, no, a lot of lava was coming out. So that part of the earth then, it was very hot, very harsh, full of toxic gases, like full of sulfur gases, sulfide gases, hydride gases, no? Like all those very toxic gases that are present only in the volcanoes nowadays. So these Archaebacteria, they could live in that environment then, no? When the earth was still very primitive, the earth was just forming, no? So I think you can guess nowadays, in this present day, we can find the Archaebacteria in the volcanoes, in the hot springs, okay, in the magma. All right. So let's see what's written there. Archaebacteria, they are the most primitive prokaryotes. Prokaryotes and eukaryotes, you understand the difference? Prokaryotes are these bacteria, virus, fungi, right? And the eukaryotes are your higher animals and plants, like your, bryophytes, algae, humans, angiosperms, gymnosperms, your trees and your flowers and your dogs and your cats, your zebra, all of us, we are eukaryotes because we have a true nucleus, no? Our nucleus is bounded by a nuclear membrane. But these bacteria and fungus, bacteria, fungus, virus, they don't have a nucleus. Okay, the DNA is just lying about in the cytoplasm. So that I think you already know. So I'm just revising you. So Archaebacteria, these are the most primitive prokaryotes, which are believed to have evolved immediately after the evolution of the first life. Okay, so they are very ancient. They were there when life first formed, and they will be there long after we are gone, long after. Another few 100 billion years, they'll still be there. Humans, maybe we have become androids or, cephalopods or half alien, half human hybrid. Long after, I'm talking about billions of years later, they'll still be there. So, since these Archaebacteria, they have such ancient DNA, so we cannot place them in the same classification as we classify our fungus and our new and present day bacteria. So they have their own place and their own domain. Okay, they live in their own, matlab they are classified in their own place, known as Archaea. All right, because these are very ancient prokaryotes. No, they are very different. So just imagine if you could travel back in time, your height, your shape, your body structure will be very different from those of the ancient Egyptians. Like, I don't know how it will be, how they look like in reality, because we only see in those archaeology discoveries, no? Where in Discovery Channel, where they show in the pictures. It could not be maybe the real life, we don't know. They could be very tall or they could be shorter than us. We could be fatter than them, taller than them. So they look very different from the present day humans. And again, long after we are gone, the future humans will be even more different. Okay. So these Archaebacteria, they can live in under very hostile conditions, where very few organisms can dare subsist. Okay, like in the very salty places also they can live. The salt marshes, that when it's very salty, no fish can survive, no plants can survive, but these bacteria, they can survive. Then in the hot sulfur springs, okay, these hot sulfur springs is because there's a volcano down there, deep inside there's a volcano, and it gives the river the heat, so it becomes a hot spring. Those of you in Maukarwat, I think you must be having a hot spring there, no? That is because there is an ancient volcano below that hot spring. Okay, and maybe in Maukarwat you have seen those round rocks, no? Very round, very black. You know what are those? Those are just the magma which has solidified millions of years ago. Okay, they roll down the volcano and they form like a ball, no? Like when you roll down a snowman, just like that. Okay, now let's look at the different types of Archaebacter. There are some types: the methanogens, the halophiles, the thermoacidophiles. Okay, so there are three types: methanogens, halophiles, and what is that? Acidophile or something. Or thermoacidophile. Okay, let's look at the first one, the methanogens. So these are anaerobes. Okay. So these are anaerobes, okay? They do not need oxygen. So they are autotrophs, means they can get their energy from sunlight and carbon, okay? They occur in the marshy places. Marshy means the wet places, where they convert formic acid and carbon dioxide into methane with the help of hydrogen, okay? So why are they called methanogens? Because they are going to create methane from formic acid and carbon dioxide. Okay, so formic acid plus CO2, we will get CH3, which is a methane. Okay, so that is what we are, what they are, what is their end product. So that's why they are called methanogens. So these methanogen bacteria, they are being used in the factories to produce methane gas, because methane is flammable. So methane and fuel gas, inside the gobar gas plants. Okay, so they are quite useful, when in the factories, right? When they want to, instead of depending so much on petroleum, they are using these methanogen bacteria, because they produce the flammable methane gas. And in the gobar gas factory, gobar gas plant, they will get energy and fuel from them. Some of the methanogens, this line I'm reading, they are symbionts, means they live in association with other animals. Okay, so methanobacterium, they live in the stomach of the cows. Okay, cows and buffaloes. Okay, all these ruminants. Like even cow dung is very flammable. In winter time, some of you may be using that cow dung mixed with charcoal, and you will notice that it burns a lot longer than just a simple charcoal. Is because of the methane that is there in the cow dung. And that methane came from where? Well, now you know, it came from the methanogen bacteria. So next time, this coming winter, when your mother buys that coal, that cow dung charcoal, you tell mommy all about that you have learned. Okay. So let's look at the halophiles. Okay, so the halophile Archaebacteria, where you can find them. Halite means salts. Okay, so you'll find them in salty places. So they are named because they occur in the salt-rich places like the salt pans, the salt beds, and the salt marshes. Okay, so the ocean beds, the ocean bay, very, very salty places. Okay, so the examples are your Halobacterium. One example is more than enough, okay, if you can remember. But you have to give example, okay? And when you write, you have to underline. Okay, when you write down, you have to underline. Okay, it's a scientific name. Just like that, Methanobacterium, that's also a scientific name. This one, when you write it, you underline it, okay? So this is the example for methanogens, and Halobacterium is another example for halophiles. So they are able to survive in salt conditions because they have some special lipids in the cell membrane. Lipids are like fats, okay, like your skin. Your skin is made up of protein and fats, no? So similarly, the membrane, just imagine it's like the skin of the bacteria. They have this lipid, okay? So that lipid, it protects them from the bad effects of the salt, okay? So that fat lining, no, it protects them from the salt. So they have another covering known as mucilage covering. Mucilage is like a mucus covering, okay? So not only do they have a fat deposit around their cell, they have another layer of mucus. So that mucus, again, it protects, double protection from the bad effects of the salt. Then they don't have sap vacuoles. Means there will not be any exchange of minerals from the outside environment. So they are not going to take in any salt. Like just imagine if I sleep in the ocean for 10 years, I will be completely dried up, no, because my skin will absorb all the salt, isn't it? Or you just apply salt on your skin, you will feel it will get very dry. Okay, so same, but here they are not going to absorb anything. They don't have sap vacuoles. So plasmolysis doesn't occur. And they have a high internal salt content, means what salt is outside is equal to what they have inside. So it's in equilibrium. There will be no osmosis. Okay, now the last one, these thermoacidophiles, they have the ability to tolerate high temperature as well as high acidity. That's why thermo for temperature and acido for acid. So to remember, you see the word thermo for temperature and acido for acid. So they have the double capacity, okay? They are even more strong. They can take a lot of high temperature and a lot of acidity, and they can survive, okay? They live in hot sulfur springs where the temperature may be as high as 80 degrees Celsius and pH as low as 2 degrees Celsius. Okay, so there's the example, thermoplasma, thermoproteus. Okay, so these are those that live in the hot spring, means they're above the volcano, no? So they are chemosynthetic, means they obtain their food from oxidizing sulfur. So you will understand this when we do the mode of nutrition, okay, of microbes. You will see how they utilize. So don't panic about this if you don't understand it yet. It will be clear later on. They can tolerate high temperatures and high acidity because they have many lipids, okay, in the cell membrane. Again, is that fat deposit which protects them. Then they have some special resistant enzymes that can operate under acidic conditions, okay. So enzyme, it works only in certain pH, certain condition, but they have a very, very heat stable enzyme, okay. And the Archaebacteria are known as the living fossil, this line, this one, because they represent one of the earliest forms of life which experimented on the absorption of solar radiations for the first time. Okay, so when the first organism evolved on Earth, they were there. Okay, so maybe they were the first also, we don't know. And they can live comfortably without any oxygen also, because on primitive Earth there was no oxygen. There was, I don't know, maybe sulfur gas, I don't know, maybe chloride gas, only God knows. Literally only God will know. I'm not just saying God knows as in just God knows word, but literally I mean it. Only God knows how the environment really was. Okay, so there are some uses of Archaebacteria to produce gobar gas and for the fermentation of cellulose in those cows and buffaloes, in the ruminants. Okay, ruminant are the type of animals that have 4 stomachs.